Welcome to Powerful Women Rising, the podcast for female entrepreneurs playing by their own rules and growing their businesses their way. Join business relationship strategist and your host, Melissa Snow, as she brings you practical perspectives and candid conversations. Each episode guides you to make smarter decisions and take bold action as you build a business that's both profitable and aligned. Because the world is a better place when powerful women rise together.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Women Rising podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. I am also the founder of Powerful Women Rising, which is a business ecosystem for female entrepreneurs who want to grow their business without having to do everything all by themselves. And I can tell you from many, many years in entrepreneurship that it is very difficult to do everything by yourself. There is so many opportunities, resources, ideas, support available when you have an awesome network in place. And that is what we're all about, is helping you grow that network. So we have the Powerful Women Rising Connection Network, which is an online networking community for female entrepreneurs where we do speed networking events twice a month. And then we also have the Powerful Women Rising Mastermind, which is where people go for deeper conversations, more business strategy, more one-on-one business coaching with me. And both are amazing groups and great opportunities depending on what stage of business you are in. So if you are intrigued at the idea of having a support system, of having a group of super smart, successful women doing business alongside you who really get what you're going through and genuinely want to help you and see you succeed, but you're not sure which level is right for you, please feel free to reach out to me. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I'm all about having conversations like a human and not like a salesy weirdo. So don't feel any pressure if you reach out to me. We will just chat. I will answer your questions and we will see what is the best fit for you. All right, let's dive into today's episode, speaking of the Powerful Women Rising Growth Mastermind, because this episode is an interview that I did with one of our longtime members, Laura Hulleman. She is a marketing strategist, but I feel like she's so much more than that. She's one of those people that when she talks, everyone listens, right? She's not somebody who always has something to say, but when she does have something to say, everybody knows that it's going to be good and everyone listens. She is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to building a successful coaching business, when it comes to business strategies in general, but especially when it comes to marketing. And one of the things that I really love about Laura is that she's all about helping you find the unique way that works for you, because how you market is not going to be how I market. And the way that works for me is not going to be the way that works for you, because we're such different humans with totally different businesses, different ideal clients, and different energy that we want to put out into the world in order to attract the right people to us. And that's what we're talking about today. So let me tell you a little bit more about Laura. She is a dynamic force in the coaching industry with a no-nonsense, insightful approach to helping coaches build businesses that reflect their unique superpowers. As the creator of the Endotype Formula Assessment, Laura develops unique marketing strategies for the coaches she serves to deliver high ROI transformations. She's also the host of the Raving Coaches podcast, where each week she discusses the business of coaching. This episode is going to be so beneficial for you and the way that you think about marketing, even if you're not a coach. Although that is Laura's sweet spot, everything that we're talking about today really does apply to any type of business that you have. So without further ado, let's dig into today's episode. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the Powerful Women Rising podcast.
Melissa, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. I can't believe it's taken this long to get you on the show, but I am so happy to be chatting with you today. And I love, if people are watching on YouTube, how your jacket and your lipstick match.
I try very hard. I actually don't try that hard. It was accidentally I found the two right shades, and so now I wear them together.
It's really working for you. It's really working for you. Before we dive into today's topic, tell everybody a little bit about you and about what you do.
Sure. So I'm Laura Hulleman. I am the creator of the Endotype Formula Personality Profiling Assessment, which is a profile that was created by a coach, me, for coaches to be able to understand the coaching business, who their ideal clients are, what they do even better. I also have a podcast, Raving Coaches, where weekly we talk about the business of coaching. And I help coaches with their marketing to be able to simplify it, make it personalized, and make sure that they're getting paid.
Love it. Especially that last part.
Yeah, that's an important part.
That's a key that we would all like in our business. So I feel like there's so many things that we could talk about today. And you have been a member of the Powerful Women Rising Business Growth Mastermind for a while now. And so one thing I know about you is you have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. And although what you specifically do with your clients really is geared towards coaches, most of your expertise and your experience really does apply to people in all businesses. So even when you're using examples today or stories from your experience and stuff like that, and we're talking about coaches, I want to make sure everybody knows that this really is applicable to anyone with a business.
Absolutely. I've helped a real estate agent brand themselves, two photographers brand themselves. I have my friend who is a cottage baker gone professional who we created a very successful brand and marketing for. So I've helped businesses outside of coaches. It's just that coaching is my passion. And where I started 16 years ago was as a coach and watched too many amazing coaches who had so much to offer the world go out of business because of a silly thing like marketing. So that's kind of where I've chosen to narrow my focus.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this silly thing called marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
How do we not let it ruin us? So one of the things that you and I very much have in common is we talk a lot about not following the one size fits all advice, the cookie cutter script. This is how you should introduce yourself at networking events. This is how you should market yourself. If you're going to launch a new course, you should do A, B, C, and D, and that will be successful. And of course, you and I both know, because we have both been coaches trying to build businesses, how appealing those things are, right? We would love to have the answer. And if you tell me A, B, C, and D will make you six figures this year, then by God, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. Why is that a problem? Or why does that not work for everyone?
So because we're different is the fast, easy, dirty answer there. But to illustrate, we're even different at different points in our business. So a lot of times when we first get into business, there's some question marks attached to our coaching. And we have more of maybe a supportive style or a collaborative, figuring it out style. And then as we go through and we really start figuring out what we do, and we got some paid clients and we're making a go of it, all of a sudden starts coming forth this very direct nature that might be inside of us. We personally evolve over time, which makes sense. So then here's this coach who's like, I made six figures. Well, probably they have a very direct style. Probably they have a very specific way of communicating that works for them and works for the people that they're working with, but might not work for you, because it all depends on who you are at this point in your life and at this point in your career and who your clients are. Because really all marketing is this trust building bridge between you and your clients. And if you can build that bridge of trust with your marketing, then you'll have this steady stream of people joining you in your coaching program. However, any hint or little energetic whiff of inauthentic behavior, of a message that's not yours, of something that you're saying or doing because the expert told you to that makes you feel icky, and that bridge crumbles, and you don't have a stream of clients. So that one size fits all is never going to work. And I'm going to pull back the curtain. A lot of those people who are promising you six figures and saying they made six figures in their coaching business, blah, 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 blah. Many of them are making six figures, selling you a course that is sold to make six figures. They're excellent marketers to coaches. They may not have made six figures selling directly to their coaching clients. And they're kind of selling you a dream. They might be great marketers for themselves, great salespersons, because a salesperson and a marketer are slightly different. So they might do great at marketing to a desperate coach, but not so great at marketing to your clients.
Yes. Girl, don't even get me started on that.
I know. There's amazing marketers in the world. And there's a lot of marketers in the world that are very heartfelt in what they do. And there's predatory marketers who just want to make that sale, or who are very myopic in thinking that the one thing they're marketing, I market social media, and social media is where it's at. I market LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is where it's at for everybody. They're so myopic that they're kind of want to make money too. So, right. So there's a little bit of maybe some desperation where they're like, yeah, you can totally get your clients for selling, jewelry widgets on LinkedIn. Absolutely. When maybe that's not where they are at all. So it's tough to find the right marketers out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in my experience, a lot of it has been they're just not telling the full story. Right? Like I have been in several quote unquote masterminds. I have to put that in quotes because really it was just group coaching, not a mastermind, that I paid $10,000 for, that I paid $25,000 for. I did stop before I got to the $50,000 mastermind. Thank you very much.
Good job.
But what I realized after being in these programs and feeling like there must be something wrong with me because I'm doing all the things that they're telling me to do and all of the things that they're saying worked for them, but they're not working for me. So clearly the problem is me, right? It's not the formula. Right. And what I have realized on the other side of that, and I've actually had several of these coaches on my podcast talking about what I didn't say to people was, I'd been building my network for 10 years before this, or I had a degree in marketing, or I had done sales for this company for 10 years before that, right? They just say, I showed up, I decided I wanted a business, I did step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I made six figures. So we all think we're going to show up and do those steps and make six figures. And I think, like what you said, I talk a lot about the way that I built my coaching business through relationships, through connections, through networking. But you'll never hear me say that's all you need. Mm-hmm. Just go meet people and talk to people. That will build your whole business, right? There's got to be some other things too. Like we still do need to market. We still do need to sell. We still probably need some sort of online presence. So I think that's part of it too, is I don't know, maybe we should do a whole other episode about red flags. But to me, that's a big thing, is if somebody is saying this is the only thing you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, on my website, I have a free guide for coaches specifically, how to pick good marketers. And I put in there a bunch of red flags. Here's the questions you need to ask them. Here's the red flags that you need to listen for. And if you're hearing this, if you're saying, what's the return on investment for this? And they're like, well, it's really hard to calculate return on investment. A lot of it depends on you and blah, 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 blah. And they're not able to paint for you a path. They can't most of them won't guarantee a return on investment and can't. But if they can't paint for you, when you invest money and you do this, here's how the money comes back to you. Ooh. So a few other red flags that exist. And yeah, I think we go into it kind of blindly when we start our businesses, and we need help knowing what the right questions are to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll have to link that in the show notes so people can check that out. Back to marketing and not following the one size fits all advice. So, okay, now we know what not to do. So how do we figure out what is my way of doing things?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have this philosophy, and it's coming out in a book here pretty soon, but I think there's only 6 things we need to do as a coach, and I think probably as a small business owner in general, to be able to get paid. Going and talking to people, that's number 2, right? Because it's a frequently, right? We could get a whole soapbox about that, but it's a frequently underutilized, undervalued step. It's much easier to work on my website again or build another funnel, and you don't need any of that to make your first sale. You need to talk to people. But step number 1 is know what you uniquely do. So whether you're selling insurance or you're selling mortgages or you're selling coaching, there's competition. There's other people out there that do similar things, right? Coaches have it a little bit harder, quite honestly, because there's still a vast number of the population that don't even know what coaching is yet. That's why it irritates me so much when I hear from people like, the coaching market's so saturated. Well, that's bullcrap, because people don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. People don't even know what it is. So it's not saturated yet. But in terms of a service-based industry, you really have to, right? It's what everybody else will call find your niche. But I think that they're explaining how to do it wrong, because most of the niche finding that's out there starts with, well, what do you want to sell? Who wants to buy that? Okay, let's create a whole platform and or a brand and or messaging that's all about them. And then you have to try and fit into the brand that some marketer came up with based on some market research or some concept that you guys both came up with, instead of just authentically walking through life yourself and into your business conversations as yourself. So I want to start the whole know what you uniquely do and the process of niching completely the opposite way. I want to know who you are, what you do, who you do that for, why you're passionate about it, and get really, really clear on kind of I call it the umbrella or the platform, the one thing that is so like a burr in your saddle to fix in this world, and understand why that is, that then we can go, okay, great, understood. Who has that, right? Who do we see that has that problem? Because now I get to, right? For me, it's being authentically who you are in business and in all the other places in your life, and understanding how we work and not vilifying any parts of ourselves. That's my burr in the saddle. So marketing what you uniquely do fits under the umbrella of my thing that I do. And I get to just talk about it with, I don't have to prep this whole conversation you and I are having, because it's what I embody.
What about the people who are listening to this that are like, but I don't want to pick one thing?
Because again, they're thinking that they have to pick one. So when I talk about it as the umbrella concept, right? I get this picture in my head. This is a tangent and a half, right? In the old Batman movies, the one with the penguin, he carried around a little umbrella when he had stolen somebody's baby. He carried around an umbrella that was actually a mobile and for the baby, and it had all these things hanging off of it. That's the picture I get in my head every time I talk about this. You have to have an umbrella. But under that umbrella, you can talk about, I've written a book that really had nothing to do with marketing, that was stories of women who said, this is what I'm going to stand for. I'm going to actually be me in my life. Nothing to do with marketing, but it's still under the umbrella of my passion project. I created a branding system. I now do marketing for coaches. Very shortly, I will have a certification where coaches can use the endotype formula in their own lives or in their own businesses. I can do lots of things, but it's all under the umbrella of be who you uniquely are. You don't need permission to be who you are, and stop puffing yourself up to seem like you're more. Stop shrinking and hiding in the shadows because you want to seem invisible and feel like less. Be who you are.
Can you give us some examples of maybe like clients that you've worked with or people that you've had conversations with and what their umbrellas are?
Yeah, I can. I can give you, and this is an adjacent client. So she's the accidental baker that I branded. She and I have known each other a long time. She was in the process of, she was a fundraising consultant, and she's been a fundraiser her whole life. She's been a give backer her whole life. From the time that she was a little kid in like middle school, doing the fundraisers at school, all the way through. And she, in our little small community of about 12 to 14,000 people, has raised millions of dollars. She built a homeless shelter. She built several parks in the area. She got the fireworks going again after they hadn't been around for 5-6 years. And she was like, hey, I think I get this fundraising thing. And I was like, yeah. and she's like, maybe my next step or this additional income stream that I'm looking for is being a fundraising consultant. Cool. So we went in and we looked at her, who she is. And she is what we call one of our innocent archetypes, brand archetypes. She's the Pollyanna, the look for the good, the so fluffy, just heartfelt awesomeness. So her brand was like pink and blues and Dalmatians because she had one, and just all of these things. Well, life, as life is, she started moving forward on this fundraising consultant. She was working on a book, and her husband looked at her one day and said, I don't want to be in construction anymore. I want a food truck.
Oh.
And she said, oh, well, okay, that might change life a little. How are we going to pay for a food truck? And he's like, I don't know, but I know this is what I got to do. And so she loved to bake, right? Because she was all about like a piece of pie and peace of mind coming together, right? As far as her innocent brand concept. And so she's like, well, she had done these bake sale, like fundraisers for herself and her family before. She's like, well, I don't know, I could bake some stuff maybe. And like, we got to bake a lot of stuff to have a food truck, but we could start. And then they found a little building. And then they found out that cottage bakery laws allowed them to do this farmer's market on the edge of this very busy street. And she started baking and doing this farmer's market twice a week. And then they found out, cottage baker laws had changed. They could go inside. So they started this thing. The first year that she was in business, she baked over $100,000 worth of baked goods. Most of that was in her home. She eventually got a commercial kitchen because she couldn't contain it in her home anymore. Her brand, pinks and blues, and she made this little cartoony lady called Cordelia. And Cordelia is the epitome of all things Pollyanna and happy. It's your auntie that sits you down and gives you a hug. And the other day she called me up. We Voxer each other regularly. And she said some person that she had known decades ago from a church that she had left because she didn't feel welcomed and she didn't feel all the feels anymore there, walked in to Cordelia's sweet shop and said, can I have a hug? And sat there and they hugged and cried for 2 full minutes. And then that person went on to explain all her life, like all the things that were happening and her whole story. And she called me up and she said, Laura, this is Cordelia. This is the brand of Cordelia. Now, Cordelia wasn't really a thing when we were building her fundraising brand, but the colors, the essence of them, the feeling of them, the Pollyanna-ness of it, the helpfulness and the comfort, all still carried over from the brand that we built thinking fundraiser to the bakery she now runs, where, by the way, she has a cookie jar that every week she picks a different fundraiser and people donate money every single week. So she just gets to run her own fundraiser while also funding her life. And her husband settled for a restaurant, which is right down the road instead of a food truck.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I always try to think when I interview somebody, if I were listening to this podcast, what's the thing that I would be like, please ask her this? And I feel like if I were listening to this podcast, I would say, okay, so is it like Pink and Blue and Dalmatians? Is it like that I really like love cats? Is it that I really like want everyone to feel welcome and accepted? Like, how do I figure out what my thing is?
It's really hard to figure your whole marketing concept out on your own. It's kind of like putting on your makeup with no mirror, right? Like, my lips would not look this good. My lips would not look this good if I did not use a mirror. I do not have much of a top lip, and overlining is my is my secret. So for the whole marketing concept, most of the time you need to work with someone. That doesn't mean it has to be step number one. For some people it is. There are some people, I'm working with a couple of brand new coaches right now. And the one, she wasn't a coach yet, but she knew exactly what she was going to do. She was writing the book. She already had a foundation set up in alignment with this whole personal story of hers that led her to coaching. And she wanted to do justice to the foundation, to the book, to the coaching, and bring it all together. She knew she needed help. I have another one who has been in corporate for 1,000,000 years. She is going to be helping and is helping right now women mostly, but people who are that first and second, third generation immigrant who struggles in living in two worlds, having those ties to the home and having those ties into corporate, not feeling quite like you belong in either, and not feeling like you can ask for what you need and want at work and going for the big. But she's been mentoring people in her corporate environment for a long time. So she also knew exactly the path that she wanted. I don't think people have to start there. What people have to start with is start with mining who they are and what they stand for. Again, that can be a difficult thing, which is why I created the Endotype Formula quiz. Anybody can take the quiz. It's free on my website. 4 questions, and it's going to tell you your coaching superpowers. And a lot of times people are surprised by their coaching superpowers because it's not what they felt like their superpower is. But the voice inside that guides us is not usually the superpower that's outside when we're having the conversations and when we're doing the thing that we're doing. Those come from 2 different parts of ourselves. And so the Endotype Formula cuts through it all and goes, here's the part that your clients see, not the voice you hear or the guidance you feel inside. Here's what it is outside. From there, you can start going, okay, if this is what my clients think of me and want to buy from me, then how do I wrap that up with the things that I stand for and the emotions that I bring? And it's a little bit of trial and error before you get your first couple of clients, and then you can hire someone who will actually take you on that journey and on that process.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
that's why building a website for me in my 6 steps, having your brand, doing your messaging, building your website are like steps 3, 4, 5. They are not steps 1, know what you uniquely do. I don't want people to come to me and being like, oh, my signature color is red. Because if red and the power behind red doesn't really work for who you are in your brand, then I don't care what your signature color is, babe. We're not going to use it anyways. We're going to capture your energy and your essence and the support that you're providing. So it's not about figuring out all those design things right away. It's about figuring out that internal, what your clients receive, starting to practice by having great conversations, and then we build all the visuals and the messaging and those things.
Yes, that's it. Because I talk a lot about how we tend to build our businesses backwards, right? Like we were talking at the beginning of this. We want to have a beautiful website with all of our good branding photos and our like slogan headline. And we need this and this and this and this. And then we'll go out and start networking. Then we'll go out and start meeting people. Like I can't tell you how many times someone says to me, oh, I really loved your virtual networking event. I'm sure the Connection Network is really great. I need to get a little farther in my business before I'm ready to start networking. And I'm like, girl, no, this is the time.
Yes. It's such trash.
When you're talking, I'm thinking about what we do with networking too, right? Or with marketing. We're like, let me choose my colors first and my fonts.
The time we spend on fonts.
Let me go in Canva and make myself a logo, right? I'll do all of these things and then I'll make them in a website, or I'll hire somebody to make a website and do all of these things. And part of the reason, I mean, there's several reasons I think that we are saying that this is backwards, and feel free to jump in and expand on this. But to me, I think the coach that I was the day I started coaching is nothing like the coach I was the day I left coaching. And I did it for 7 years, right? And when I first started out, I said, I want to coach. I was doing dating and relationship coaching. When I started out, I said, I want to coach the women who keep attracting the same man in a different body over and over again, because that was my life. And by the time I left coaching, the people I was coaching were all like 40, 50 plus women who had been married 20, 25, 30 years, had been divorced for a while, and now we're getting back into dating, but it was very scary and very different than it was when they were 19 and met their husband, right? So not even remotely the same messaging, not even remotely the same website, and people, I hate to break it to you, also not the same colors or fonts.
Right. And can you remember, Melissa, the disappointment that came with, after all the time and energy and potential money that you poured into that first brand and the website, and it's just right, and oh nope, I got to move it over a teensy bit this way, and then nothing worked.
Yes.
Or it evolved very quickly to the next iteration, and it was like, I have to do this over. That's that feeling of like, the disappointment is what usually makes coaches start stepping outside of the coaching that they want to do.
Yeah.
It's the thing, that disappointment, that takes them out of it. And I just don't want them to have to do that. You can build a coaching business and start getting your clients without a website. Totally possible.
Yeah.
Just go talk to people.
Yeah. I was just doing a strategy session with one of the members of the Powerful Women Rising Business Growth Mastermind. Sorry, I got distracted by the cattail in my face. Every pet is like, does not care that I exist until I get on Zoom. And then all of a sudden, here they are. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And we were talking about a program that she wants to launch that she's never done before, that she's in the very beginning stages of, but she really wants to have it ready to go by May, because it's a 90-day thing, and she wants it over by, them to be done by summer and blah, blah, blah. And she's talking about, I need to make a sales page and a form and this, and then a welcome sequence and a this and a this. And I said, honestly, if I were you, this first time around, I would sell it from a Google Sheet. And she was like, what? A Google? How dare you? How dare you propose a Google Sheet? But honestly, like, whether you are selling from a Google Sheet or a beautiful sales page is not what's going to make the difference between whether someone signs up for your program or not at this stage.
Correct.
And
yeah, they don't care.
No.
Right. And I remember, like, I've been a small business owner for 25 years. I have a collection of business cards because I've built over 5 different businesses to profitability, and I've built a few more that were not profitable. And man, back in the day, I was doing business before the internet existed, and you'd go to the stationery store and you'd pick your card stock for your business card, and you'd pick the little icon, the color of ink and the fonts. But when you had that business card, that's when you felt briefly like you were in business. The website has become the pseudo business card to that back, and we all giggle, like, thinking about that and how proud I was of my business cards. They didn't, that wasn't the thing that got me business. I had to go like smile and dial, or go knock some doors, or go figure out, some other things, or network, but somehow get in front of people. My business cards didn't close any deals. And our websites are interesting tools. And especially once we understand what we uniquely do, and we understand how to talk about it, and we've gotten a couple of clients, and we've had those awkward sales conversations, now it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to make that website work for me. But I worked with a coach, Wendy Herman of Green Table Consulting. She set herself up a one-page, "Hi, I'm Wendy, Green Table Consulting. We stand for personal growth is professional development." I don't know that it said much more than that. And it said, "Contact Wendy." And that was it for about a year and a half. And she used that until about 4 months before she left her corporate career, or cut down her corporate career considerably, because she was already getting clients. Not because her website was perfect, beautiful, and she had a great funnel. Not even because she was using LinkedIn effectively, but because she was having conversations with people. She knew what she stood for. She knew what she wanted to do. Then she and I worked together, and we expanded her brand. We created that website. We dialed in her messaging. We discovered a couple of passion elements of hers and a couple of projects she didn't know she was going to be working on. But I was like, oh, that's gold. Like, that's the book, friend. And I'm pretty sure she's pretty close to launching that book now, too. So you don't have to do it with, like, just don't waste the energy and the emotional cost of all that time, and then it doesn't work like you expected it to do, which is bring in all your clients for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because all these things that we're talking about are valuable. All these things that we're talking about have a place, right? Coaches obviously are important. We're not saying every coach out there is great at marketing and they're terrible at coaching. There are amazing coaches out there. And I've worked with many. I know you've worked with many. Websites are important, right? All these things are important. It's just figuring out this, like you said at the very beginning of this, it's finding your unique type. It's finding your sweet spot, whatever your little Batman umbrella is.
Yep.
And really living into that and growing your business into that, rather than going backwards and saying, oh, well, I have this website, or I have this like ideal client avatar that I created with Sally the strategist. And so now I have to fit myself into that website and that client avatar.
Exactly. And that's why most of my clients, we don't even start with me selling them one of my full marketing packages. Most of my clients, we start with what I call my CSI call, my Clarity, Strategy, Impact 90-minute call, because we can get that clarity around what you uniquely do. And in the marketing package, when I'm working with them weekly, we get more and more clear. But we can, in that CSI, we can get the clarity on what it is. We can get the strategy behind, oh, you want to do it this way. Here's a couple of ideas. And they can start creating that impact and income. Maybe that's what the I should stand for. Clarity, strategy, income. I think I like that better.
You're welcome.
Wait, I have to change my website. But yeah, they can start at the beginning, even if they're starting over at the beginning. But it's enough to get them going in the right direction to create a few clients, which creates income, which pays some bills, but also can pay for some additional marketing.
Yeah, Absolutely. So you mentioned a couple times your endotype quiz. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm going to link that in the show notes. I was actually looking before we got on this call for the email that had my results in it, and I couldn't find it, but I did find an email that I sent to you after I took it. And I was like, I just want you to know this was scarily accurate.
I love those emails. The one that I like better is when I get F you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you
for knowing these things about me. Yeah. So my endotype quiz, it's 4-question assessment, which a lot of times people are like, okay, well, like it's going to tell me something like, oh, I'm a DISC S supporter. No. We have dialed in the quiz and dialed in the questions really, really carefully and thoughtfully. And what it does is it gives us a behind-the-scenes look at not only how you think, which is what a lot of the questions are based on, but around the parts, internal family system, the parts work. What's your young child connected to? What do they crave? What does your judgmental parent voice inside your head sound like? We know all of that, as well as what your hero's journey is, what your genius superpower is, all based on those 4 questions. We know what you're connected to. When you get your profile results, most of the time people are a little upset with me because the first word of your profile type, so if I remember correctly, Melissa, you're a lost pituitary intuitive.
That sounds right.
And the first word lost, oh, what are you talking about? There's one that's called angry. There's one that's called stubborn. That first word, though, it's not a descriptor of you. It is your red flag word. So for people who, like myself, I'm the lonely adrenal interpreter. When I start having this experience of lonely, not because I'm alone, not because I am lonely, but this experience inside that I can identify as, oh, lonely, got it. That's my red flag that, ooh, I'm feeling this. I need to slow down before I start making really crap choices in my life. That's our red flag word. The second word is the either endocrine gland or your nervous system, whatever you're most closely attached to that most closely runs your body. So for you, it's that pituitary gland. And the last word is your unique title. So I usually just call them by the last word. So you're an intuitive, I'm an interpreter. But that comes with some meaning behind it also. And you get all that information as well as a whole bunch more of what we know about you when you take the quiz and you get your profile. But know that all that information in your profile, tip of the iceberg of what the endotype formula shows us. And from there, it predicts our brand type and it predicts our ideal clients and it predicts so much stuff about us as an individual, but also as a business owner.
Yeah, it's so cool. You also have a course that is awesome and I love it. And you are gifting that to our listeners. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my course that I created is right. And you would love it because it's all about getting those right 2 sentences that actually describes your work. We've all been at networking meetings before. And we start introducing ourselves and go through the Zoom room or go around the room. And the first coach stands up and says, I work with middle-aged women and I empower them to set boundaries. And the next coach stands up and says, I work with women who lack confidence and need to be able to set boundaries, who are middle life and high achieving. And the next coach stands up and says, right, I work with amazing, successful women business owners. And they're all saying like the same dang thing. And the ideal clients that are sitting in that room that need coaching right now, they stopped listening 3 coaches ago because they don't know what you guys do. Mm-hmm. So I'm spoiling it, but the course is called Why No One Gets What You Do. And it's because we're using buzzwords, because we're not basing it on what we really uniquely do. And because we're not using what my mom calls real human words. She and I were watching a commercial one time, and a coachy coach was like, "Hey fam, I'm manifesting abundance here and really grounding in nature." And I giggled and I was like, that's a coach. And she was like, "How do you know that's a coach?" And I was like, "That's coach language." And she said, "Laura, those aren't real human words."
She is not wrong.
Hear it all the time. So it takes you through the process of investigating and exploring what you uniquely do, utilizes the endotype formula, utilizes some great questions to put together a clear statement of what you do as a coach, and then break that down into kind of a 2-sentence summary that you can use as your what I do statement. You can find it over on my website. We'll get you a link. And then when you go to pay, normally, so if I take people through the process myself, I charge upwards of $900 for it because it's a very deliberate process. The course itself is $349, but for listeners of your podcast, use the code podcast and they get it for free.
Awesome. That's so cool. Thank you so much. I will put that info in the show notes. If people want to know more about what you do, if they want to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So if they want to know what I do because they want to know, right, they might be interested in it, ravingcoaches.com is my website. If they just want to, if they're a coach and they want more information, they want to learn more, they want to hear more about the endotype, or they just want a little tune-up each week, my podcast, which is available over on Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio, all the places, Raving Coaches, is a great place where each week we talk about the business of coaching with a coach. So not only do you get to hear what other coaches are doing out there in the world, which, right, we all geek out about, but we also then investigate what's working for them in business and what's not. So we get to learn and glean helpful hints that may or may not work for us, but at least we know that they exist.
Yeah, it's such a good podcast. I love it. There are very few with my short attention span that I can sit all the way through, but yours is one of them. I love it. It's so good. Okay, I will put all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. I knew this would be a good conversation because you and I are so in alignment on all the things, and you're just so smart.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. I loved spending the time with you.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Powerful Women Rising. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're looking for a fun, consistent, low-pressure way to meet other women in business and create more visibility, leads, and momentum, check out the Powerful Women Rising Connection Network. Looking for deeper support, a place to think things through, get honest feedback, and stay focused as you grow? You can learn more about our masterminds through the links in the show notes. If you loved the episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And until next time, keep rising, because building a business your way really is the best way.